As you may be aware, Pi Day, which stands for Public, Intentional, and Explicit, it is officially March 14th, which is this coming Thursday. But most United Churches that are affirming are recognizing today as Affirm Sunday. Members of the United Church of Canada started out on this journey over 40 years ago, when a volunteer group called Affirm was formed to be welcoming to gays and lesbians. Since then, our understanding of sexual orientation and gender diversity has broadened, and the Church officially endorsed Affirm United, S'affirmer Ensemble in 2000. Communities of faith were invited to learn, pray, and consider becoming affirming. And after informative presentations, discussions, and discernment, Emmanuel United Church became an affirming congregation on May 28, 2017. There are currently 10 United Churches in Ottawa which are affirming, including all 5 churches in our Southeast Ottawa cluster. Some people have asked me about all the colors and the symbol on the Progressive Pride flag, which is on the front of our communion table. The red represents life, which is given by God and given in abundance. The orange represents healing. Many LGBTQ+ folks have been hurt by family who don't understand, by a world that rejects difference, and by the church, which has a history of excluding these children of God. But we also believe that God can be healing. The yellow is for sunlight. We believe that God intended for all her children to live out in the open, to not hide their light under a bushel. The green is for nature. We believe that God does not make mistakes, that she formed each of us with care, she shaped our different sexualities and genders, and loves us as she made us. Blue is serenity. We believe peace can be found in God, in knowing that we are all children of God, in knowing God made us and loves us just as we are. Purple is for spirit, a spirit that connects all of us and helps us survive and thrive, a spirit that binds the human family together in love. The black and brown stripes are for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. The blue and pink lines represent folks who are transgendered, whose gender identity differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. And the circle is for people who are intersexed, born with both female and male characteristics. So just as that acronym we read at the beginning keeps getting longer, GLBTQ, blah, 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 so do the colors on the flag increase, because God has made us so wonderfully diverse. Each year, Pi Day has a theme, and this year the theme is Pi in the public space. So how does Emmanuel show publicly that we are an affirming congregation? Well, we say it in our responsive welcome at the beginning of each service. We show it on our sign out front and when we march in pride parades. We also host a community outreach program here called Rainbow Hub, which is held once a month for youth ages 12 to 17. Although it is held in the church, and the leaders are members of Emmanuel, and the funding comes from the National Church and the Regional Council, it is designed to be a warm, positive, secular space where rainbow youth can come and feel welcomed and accepted for who they are. Our own Becca Johnson, a registered social worker, was recently hired to provide counseling to youth who often come with a lot of stress and concerns. An average of 12 youth attend each month for dinner and an activity, and last month there was a very successful siblings night with 18 youth in attendance. So it is a much-needed program. In the gospel reading from Matthew that Crispin read, we hear the familiar lines, "You are the light of the world, let your light shine." So often we have heard sad stories about sexually and gender-diverse people whose light has been dimmed by people around them that don't understand or are intolerant of people who have a different sexual orientation or gender expression than they do. You may remember last year it was on the news, the Million March for Children. It included right-wing Christians who protested everything from drag queen story times in libraries to trans rights, which is still a very hot topic in political circles. United Church minister Reverend Tricia Gerhard described how she put public in pie in a recent video on the Affirm United website. A Million March for Children was holding a big rally in her city of Winnipeg, and she decided to join the counter-protest, wearing her collar and her stole, which made her very visible as a clergy person. The tensions rose quickly, and she was scared, but three things kept her there. She is a parent of a non-binary child. She's part of an affirming congregation like Emmanuel, and she was struck by the number of people who approached her and thanked her for being present, and who told her their story about feeling unwelcomed in their own church. Reverend Gerhard says that to be truly affirming, it's important to be visible outside the church building. When somebody stole the Progress Pride flag that they had up, they replaced it, and they will always do that. And Gerhard also volunteered for a pastoral care helpline for members of the Rainbow community to call when they were feeling anxious in the wake of those protests. When there is so much anti-GLBTQ+ rhetoric in the media, it is even more important that we send a counter message of love and acceptance. Affirm United, s'affirmer ensemble, believes that all gender identities and sexualities are a gift from God, and that churches should be a safe and fully welcoming space for LGBTQ+ and two-spirit people to worship. The Rainbow community has endured so much hate and persecution. In many countries, it is illegal to be gay or lesbian. And if you are called out by somebody who knows you, you can be put in jail. Where once there had to be an underground railroad for Black people escaping slavery, there is now a rainbow railroad to help at-risk GLBTQI+ individuals to get to a safe country. But even here in North America, they face discrimination and hate. There's a new documentary out called 1946 that speaks about the translation of the Bible that first included the word homosexual, which scholars say was a very incorrect translation of the original Greek language. That word has been used by fundamentalist Christians to exclude and shame people with sexual orientations, different sexual orientations or gender expressions for decades. There is a link to this film on the Affirm website or Facebook page, and Rideau Park United Church will be hosting a viewing and discussion of this documentary in May. Jesus didn't discriminate. He taught us to love our neighbors, especially those who are different than us. He taught us all to let our light shine, to use our gifts for the greater good, and to seek justice and love kindness. So if you are part of a same-sex couple, let your light shine. If you believe you were born in the wrong body than the gender you feel you are, let your light shine. If you are bisexual or a cross-dresser or two-spirited, let your light shine. You belong in our church. You belong in society, and you have gifts and wisdom to share. And if your child or grandchild comes out to you, be honored that they trust you with their truth. Our job is to listen, to reaffirm, and to assure them that we love them just the way they are. If someone tells you their preferred pronouns are they and them, respect their wishes and practice using those pronouns. The world would be a dull place without all the colors of the rainbow. Many years ago, our beloved Anne Squire wrote an essay called Radical Inclusion. And during her time as moderator, she was instrumental in guiding the United Church of Canada to allow the ordination of ministers who identified as LGBTQ. She was also a guiding light, encouraging Emmanuel to become an affirming congregation. Pi Day invites us to embrace and enflesh the radical, prophetic, deeply inclusive call of the good news. May we all be allies on the journey to support one another in all our diversity. God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God.